Oh, the joys of dungeon crawlers, killing innumerable creatures for that chance at loot drops. It's like an addiction if done correctly. It's like you just want one more dungeon to get that new piece of gear, just one more trial to complete your set, one more roll from the RNG gods to get that unique you were looking for. But that's if it's done correctly. And there's a very fine line between done correctly and incorrectly. Fortunately, Van Helsing 3 does seem to do more things correctly, but it does cross that line from time to time. You want to keep playing it because it's a dungeon crawler and it's made very well, but then you want to stop playing it when you get stuck in a cart because you backflip into it, or it makes it so you can't actually kill an elite mob. Hey everyone, Eezore here, and in today's review I'm going to be covering the incredible adventures of Van Helsing 3. And I must say, it's quite the improvement over the original. Now, there is a second game of the series, obviously, since this is the third one, but I did not know this. I thought we were actually getting the second one this month, so whoops, my bad. But enough about my assumptions and mistakes. Let's break it down. First off, Van Helsing 1 is in the same boat as the third. Most things done right for a dungeon crawler, some things done wrong. However, the third installment has shown that NeoCoreGames does actually know how to improve their games. The first thing I noticed was the different character classes. First game only had 3, and 2 of them were behind paywalls, so to speak. Here we have 6 right off the bat, and they all play very differently. The Bounty Hunter was my class of choice as a hardcore playthrough was required again, and range is best, but I did try all of them just to see what they offered. The Protector. This is the tank class. Lots of damage reduction, as well as being able to heal with life per hit. Damage output isn't as big of a deal for this class. Make Katarina DPS range to help with that. Bounty Hunter. Big burst DPS class. Can do over 100,000 damage in one hit at range. No real damage reduction though. Glass Cannon Incarnate. Make Katarina the tank. Easy to die. Elementalist. Elemental Mage class. Good DPS output. Some survivability. Has a range of spells, but you really need to focus in on one type to maximize DPS. Umbralist. Stealth and Sneaky class. This class can sneak around, making itself disappear and teleport to get behind enemies. This is an interesting class and tough to play solo. You need Katarina as a distraction, otherwise would be fun with other people. Phlogistoneer. Think I'm saying that right. You're basically a walking mech with a range of abilities. Didn't play this one at all, just checked it out, so unsure as to how it really plays. Looks interesting, but honestly not my playstyle. Constructor, the minion class. With this class, you summon different mechs to do the damage and take hits. Plays like a minion class, where it's impossible to really control the minions and they're a bit of a concern at some point. Bit buggy, but never felt like I would die. Too many targets for the enemies to hit, so it's a good hardcore class. Do with Katarina as you will, I went with tank. Now, like I said, one thing I enjoyed as a whole was the uniqueness of each class. They really had different options to play the game, even if I always went back to the same level whatever skill I foresaw me using the most kind of playstyle. But the options were there nonetheless. That's always been one big reason why I love the original, was the customization of the character, along with the ability to play as you want to. Now as for actual gameplay, it runs the same as before. There are monsters and you kill them. There are sometimes groups of unique or rare monsters with abilities that are annoying, but mostly it's just a run and gun until all things are dead. However, what adds some spice to the mix is the interactions with certain random objects and how the pair deal with it. There's a random gong in the forest at one point, and if you click on it, Van Helsing clearly states, "Hell no, I'm not hitting that gong." At which point, Katarina comes right up and smacks it saying, "Fine, I will." Or when you find a giant sword sticking out of what is clearly Titan remains, and at the end of the hilt is an insignia saying, "Titan slaying equipment built by Kratos and company." Just the little pop references hidden throughout the game like this are treats for the player. And as long as you're paying attention and diligent, they're not too hard to find. The tower defense missions do make a comeback with this game, and they're a much needed boost to the system as a whole. The original was very lackluster, and albeit a fun distraction, was very basic and easy to win. Here the towers can only be placed on certain points, with some towers only being available on certain maps or areas. You can only get the machine part supplier on the first map, while the ice and fire floor traps are only in maps 2 and 3. The experience as a whole is a lot more fun to play around with to see what you can do, even if they are optional overall. Another 2 things I found very interesting was the resistance mechanic and chimera mechanic. I made a video going in depth with these 2 things, click here to see it, but basically you're in charge of the resistance and need to send out your captains to go on missions. You can hire more members, increase the overall equipment of the Resistance, and give captains relics so as to increase one of their many characteristics. It's a fun little side game, but only has 8 missions that come available as you play the story. Could have been much more there. As for the Chimera, this thing is awesome. You feed it essence and it goes searching for gold and loot for you. It can even bring back potions that give you permanent bonuses to your stats. After you're done with the story, the game does still have a few options for you. First off is the never-ending story, which to my knowledge just buffs the monsters to higher levels and lets you keep playing the story. I didn't get that far into it, so I'm unsure how long it does go. As it states in its description, there is a stopping point, but not many people will be able to see it. There's also scenarios, which are basically little trials you need to complete. They give you 6 different tasks, you can choose your difficulty as well as your modifiers, and then you have at it. The modifiers make the maps harder and range from not being able to use potions to Katarina not being able to help at all on the map. There are 2 sets of 3, and after all 6 are passed or failed, you can reset them to keep going. The main benefits of this are the loot, as well as the ability to keep gaining reputation. The elite mobs in these zones give you reputation, and over time you level up and get stat points as well as 2 points to put into the glory tab. The options from the glory are tiny, either giving 1%, 0.5%, or 0.4%, but it can be to just about anything. Crit hit chance, crit hit damage, elemental damage of all types, HP MP increase, damage reduction, defense, dodge, so on and so forth. I'm unsure what the max level is for this, but given how little the multiplier is, I'm guessing the number is massive, if any. Now, like I said, this game does a lot correct for a dungeon crawler, and although I enjoyed a lot of the mechanics and distractions to this game, as well as the story, it did have its faults. There were more than a few bugs in this game. I got stuck literally on 3 different spots while playing, and 2 of them were from scenarios which I had to restart entirely. There was a few times on my Fearless playthrough that I had some trouble with killing a certain monster. The thing with Fearless difficulty is that the monsters have an insane amount of hit points, and there are a few enemy types that have life drain. So I couldn't kill 2 sets of elites because they healed for more damage than I could do at the time. I get the fact you need to make it harder, but giving them 100,000 hit points while I can only do about 10,000 damage before they heal up for 15 is just BS. You always have to be upgrading and checking the shop if your DPS can go up even a little bit, and that made it really annoying to have to manage all little tiny things. Literally every time you went to town, you had to check the shops to see if there was any kind of increase for you, so you never had money going on. The AI wasn't the best either. Katarina would sometimes run off to hit a monster just to come back to me like a boomerang, then run off to hit it again. This was annoying as I played a range character, and would lead to me running away more often than I'd liked. She would also sometimes not run up and hit them at all, being distracted with the drops. And then, there are the achievements. Just like the original, there are bugged achievements. Currently, success with clean hands is unobtainable. Like, can't get it at all, no matter what you do. There are problems with the rage achievement proccing. Case in point, I received that achievement while watching Netflix 2 days later than I had gotten the achievement. And I didn't even boot up the game that day. If you don't start the game on Fearless, you can't get any of the difficulty achievements. It's not the biggest deal for gameplay, and it really only bothers me a lot because of the fact that the Fearless playthrough took 15 hours to do. And then it doesn't unlock? Like, seriously? Annoying as all get out. I know that NeoCoreGames is working on fixing these, but given their history, it will probably take a few months to sort out. For an achievement junkie like me, that's a few months too long. One last thing that I really had a problem with was the lack of a tutorial. I know this is the 3rd game of the installment, you should kind of know what you're doing this time around, but just having nothing doesn't cut it for me. They kind of say things and how stuff does work, but there really isn't a good explanation. It's just kind of a, okay, here you are, rage, okay, bye. I'm not asking for a total hand-holding kind of tutorial, I really hate those, but something more than just the nothing that was would have been nice. The resistance mechanic has a lot of unknowns, and the rage mechanic is still just a hot mess. Van Helsing 3 is a much needed improvement over the original. True, the gameplay is the same, but that could be said about all dungeon crawlers. The lack of information in the form of tutorials in this game is a bit frustrating and makes it a little more hardcore than it really needs to be, but as long as you can get over that, it actually is a really good game. Overall, I'd say if you enjoy dungeon crawlers at all, I would say check this one out. It is really, really fun. Much like the original, it's a little hardcore, a little more extreme than usual, but again, if you like that genre, it is so good. It is so rewarding. It really pays off for every little tiny thing you do, and it gives you a reason to explore with the fact that you find random things that boost your stats all around the world, just hidden everywhere. Its learning curve is a bit steep overall, but it's doable as long as you're committed. With the broken achievements, it really, really hurts people like me who complete achievement lists, and get everything for them. But if you don't care about them, it really wouldn't bother you at all. If it does bother you and you haven't picked it up yet, I'd say probably wait until they fix it. I know NeoCoreGames is working on fixing a lot of the broken achievements, but knowing them, it's probably going to be a month or two away yet, at least. It took them a while to fix the first game's hardcore achievement, so I'd say wait on playing it if it's going to bother you. It is really fun to play with people, though. I play with a couple of my friends, and every class plays so uniquely that it's not that boring as long as you have a good setup. Even if you have the same setup, you can all play differently with the same one, so it's really, really fun in that aspect. You don't see the same builds over and over and over again. I don't like giving a rating like 7 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 or whatever on reviews, just because there's no point. Like, it's my opinion, so my opinion's not going to be the same as yours. If you watch the video and you really enjoy it, you think it looks really fun, go play the game. It is a lot of fun. I really like it if you like dungeon crawlers. If that's not your scene, then pass. It's as simple as that. Like, if it looked fun, it's going to be fun. It is. I really enjoyed it, and if you like dungeon crawlers at all, you probably will too. So I'll say try it out. If you're an achievement junkie, look elsewhere. There's so many broken achievements in this game that it's not worth the frustration. And even if you pick it up and get everything else, you still have to sit there and wait for at least one of them to be fixed. So there's no point in trying to get all the achievements on it. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button down below. Leave a comment as well if you are planning on getting the game, if you like the game, if you don't like the game, if you're as mad as I am, the fact that there's so many busted achievements in this one. Leave them all down below. I'd like to read those, what your thoughts are overall. If you like other video game related content, that's kind of what I do, so consider subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I've been Eezore, and until next time, keep your story going.